Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Simply Being. I just want to say this is our first episode in a studio. I am so excited. Shout out to Wonderlust Studios here on PB. It's been such a pleasure working with Nick and having this space right now. And I want to thank Gabby Greenberg, who's here with us today. Gabby Greenberg is the founder of Collectiv, which is a membership community that is based on getting people together through food and wellness activities. That is actually where I met Gabby, so clearly she's doing something right because we did connect there, and it was a very authentic connection. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So what I wanted to do to start off is have a bite of this cacao, this chocolate, so that we can just be more connected to our hearts and be more in our bodies and less in our heads. Sometimes with this podcast, I can get a little bit in my head and like start judging what I say. So I definitely think it would be beautiful to connect that way. So be my guest. Let's do it. Should we put this here?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, that's actually helpful. I can put it down.
Yeah, and you
I have one limb.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Oh, it's a lavender and rose. So
ooh, it's
adding
pretty.
some herbal.
Got some petals.
Yay. Cute.
Cheers.
I hope we don't chop in our teeth the rest of the time.
If we do, nobody judge. You saw why. Oh, this is so good.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want some, Nick?
I do.
Yay!
All right.
I love it.
That is so good.
It's amazing. I love it. And yeah, the lavender will bring some calming energy too.
Always good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, hoping that there's no chocolate in my mouth. So I want to start off So I want to start off by asking you, Gabby, what inspired you to start this business and to start this community? And yeah, what kind of sparked that interest?
Yeah, so kind of a long story, so I'll try to keep it short, but essentially my whole life I've dealt with stomach problems. I think girls have stomach problems, everybody has IBS. So my whole life I was getting tests, all these things. Was I gluten-free? Was I this? No. All I had was IBS. So it was kind of just something that I wrote off, literally got used to always having a stomach ache, didn't think it was a big deal. And then I went to college and my anxiety smacked me right in the face. I literally couldn't get through class. I had to go to resources for disabled students to take my tests. I had to do them alone in a room, have double time. Like my anxiety literally just made me not able to function. I didn't even know it was anxiety. I just felt like I had the stomach flu like all the time. Couldn't keep food down, like just sickly. Honestly, and eventually I learned that that was anxiety, and it got so bad that my parents asked me if I wanted to drop out of school. Wow. And I said, no, that'll set me back farther, but like, I really do want to take this more seriously. And so my dad was like, you need to go to my friend who's a gastro specialist and like get your stomach seriously checked. So I went. First question he asked me was, how's your anxiety? And I was like, horrible. Wow. Like, out of that. But yeah, so my anxiety was just out of control, and he was like, all right, we're going in, we're going to do a bunch of tests, and turns out I had 2 precancerous tumors in my intestines, and I was 21. So they were like, we don't know why you have these. Normally men who are 60 plus have these, and normally they're benign. So yours are precancerous, you're a girl, you're really young. We don't know. Wow. So I did every test you could think of, genetic testing, had the oncology center leaving me like voicemails, just like really scary stuff to be like, wait, like I always knew something was wrong with me and everybody said it was fine, but like now something's wrong with me and it's like basically cancer. And so I ended up finding 2 more of those tumors. So between 21 and 27 I had 4. And then just like when I didn't have any answers for me, just took it upon myself to figure out, how am I going to live? How am I going to be healthy? How am I going to be happy? And I was already working out every day, and I already thought I was eating healthy, but it turns out that eating healthy in America actually is really fucking hard, because there's a lot of chemicals and things in our diet that we don't even know about, things in our environment, and our shampoos, our conditioners, God knows what. So I tried to remove all the chemicals from my diet, starting with food, just started cooking my own like whole food. So if it came from the earth and I cut it up and cooked it, that's what I was putting in my body, and really learned what a balanced meal is and like why we need to have what macros we need to have and all of that stuff. And then the biggest one was really my mental health. So really, like I said, I was already active all the time. I was already always socializing, but I made it more intentional. I understood why meditating wasn't just trying to relax and trying to like stop yourself from thinking. And how it's a deeper practice that allows you consistency and to be proud of yourself and to like take on life with a different shield. And so that led me down the path to discover breathwork, and it just kind of all came together. And when I was 28, I got checked to see if I had any tumors, and I didn't for the first time. And then that week I got laid off. So it was like the universe saying, like, you've literally been thinking for the last year, what's your next step? How are you getting out of this? I knew they were pushing me out because the company got bought out in August. It was March, and I was like, I just feel like they're like not giving me the resources I need. I think they're going to cut me. And yeah, they got me on a call, and they're like, we're eliminating your position. We're totally changing everything. And like, you've been great, but can't afford you. So I was like, great, this is the push I need. Like, I'm 28. I had savings. All I had was my dog and my cat, and there was like, the rest of my life's gonna have so much more risk and things that I can't take a massive leap on. Like, I need to do something. I always wanted to do health and wellness. Every 2 to 4 years, I'd be working. I'd hate my job. I'd be like, how can I do this the rest of my life? It's so unfulfilling. Oh my God. So I'd switch from fashion to tech. And it's like, no, that all still doesn't work for me. And so it just was a trial and error up until that point where I was like, I literally have no choice. I have to do this. The universe says, like, this is what I'm meant to do. And it just all made sense. And I didn't know it was going to be events, and I didn't know I was going to grow some membership-based community. Like, I honestly had no idea what it was going to look like. But I was like, I'm going to get my nutrition certification. I've always been training people at the gym, so I'll get a certification for that just to be legit. I'll just dive in. I started hosting monthly challenges. So we had like 14 to 18 people doing these like virtual nutrition, fitness, and mindset revamps every month. That lasted for 3 months. And then I was like, holy shit, I'm so burnt out from trying to market this over and over and over. Like, this isn't sustainable. But in the meantime of trying to grow my awareness, I hosted a popsicle making class, which I thought was a joke, and people loved it. And they demanded a second one. And it was in my front yard. And it literally was like, people loved it. And I was
All right, so let's see. How did I start Grow Collectiv? Okay, so I have had stomach issues my entire life. And I was always doing tests. So I was trying to figure out what was wrong. They were always like, you have IBS, you have IBS, which is stress-induced. They don't tell you that, but it's from stress. And so I got to college, and my anxiety just smacked me right across the face. I couldn't take my tests without having to run to the bathroom. It was like I had the stomach flu 24/7. I didn't even know it was anxiety. I just knew I wasn't okay, and I wasn't grounded, and it was just constantly like, I don't know, just so much energy going through me. And feeling like I was in a limbo, like I didn't know my direction, being stuck in college, wanting to live my life. It just all kind of came crashing down on me. And at one point, it got so bad that my parents asked me if I wanted to drop out of school. And I said, no, but I do want to like look into this more seriously. So I went to my dad's friend, who is a gastroenterology specialist, and he asked me how my anxiety was, which was the first doctor to ever ask me about that. And I was like, that's interesting. Why'd you ask me about my anxiety? And anyways, he was like, all right, we're going to do this test, this test, this test. So came in the day after my 21st birthday, got checked, and it turns out I had 2 precancerous tumors. So they wanted to do every test under the sun, figure out why a girl at 21, when normally 60-year-old men get these polyps and they're benign, and mine was precancerous. So they were like, okay, we got to figure something out. You have a great lifestyle, so I'm not sure if it's lifestyle. Like, let's try genetic testing. Let's do this. So tried everything, got back nothing, and essentially decided to take it into my own hands. So I learned how to remove the chemicals from my diet. I learned how to balance my mental health, and I'm by no means good at it. I still am running like a million miles an hour all the time, but I at least know to be aware of the balance that is needed in my life. And so with just years of trial and error, figuring out kind of what I needed to like bring myself back down to earth, was getting more checks, finding more tumors. So by the time I was 27, I had 4. And then by the time I was 28, I got checked and I didn't have any. So I decided to be like, okay, what did I do? Because the doctors don't have any answers for me. Nobody in Western medicine knows what's going on with me. So it has to be something deeper. And I realized that essentially the buildup of toxic energy inside your body creates disease. And when there's chemicals in our food and our environment, it exacerbates it. So I grew up healthy. My mom made me every meal that I ate growing up. It wasn't that I didn't have home cooked meals. It's that all this stuff is hidden in our diet and hidden in our culture to not have a healthy balance and to not be connected to our hearts and our minds and how we feel and talk about how we feel. And so I learned all of this and really implemented into myself. And like I said, when I got checked at 28, I didn't have any tumors. And then the next week I got laid off. So that really led to me starting Grow Collectiv, because every couple of years I would have an existential crisis. If I can't work this job, I can't do this every day of my life, it's not fulfilling. Oh my God. So I'd switch careers, I'd switch industries, I'd switch whatever. And 2 years later I was back. And I would always make a list of the 5 things I wanted to do, and health and wellness was always at the top, but I would abandon it for more money or abandon it for being the third person at a company and being able to build it. And then I'd end up in the same place. And so when I got laid off and I didn't have any tumors anymore, I looked at my savings and I was like, I can support myself for a couple months and I'm just going to do it. I have nothing to lose. Life's only going to get more intense and more, risky. So like it's now or never, and I'm just going to do it. And so I didn't even know what that looked like. I knew I wanted to do health and wellness. That was it. I knew I loved food. I knew I always wanted a cookbook. I didn't really know what that meant or looked like. So I got a nutrition certification. I got a personal training certification. And then while trying to build awareness and do, monthly challenges and virtual events and God knows what, I did a popsicle making class just for fun. And turns out people loved it. They wanted me to do a second one. And I was like, a popsicle making class? Like, we're literally pouring yogurt in a thing and putting it in our freezer. But then I realized, wait, it's not about making popsicles. It's about people meeting new people. It's about having an activity that isn't drinking alcohol. It's about being somewhere and having to ask somebody if you can borrow it and easily being able to say, what's your name? And then, oh my God, you guys have so much in common. Oh, you're both looking for new friends? Great. You make coffee plans and you actually go. And it started to trickle into this thing where I was like, wait, this is it. I've always been a connector. I've always been a social person. I've always wanted to find a way to connect with other people, to connect other people. And I just feel like the way society raised us said you have to go and you have to sit behind a desk. And if you want to connect people, it can be venture capitalists meeting with other venture capitalists because they want to buy your company. It's not, oh, we can go and sit in the grass and connect with people, and that somehow is a profitable business. And so essentially I'm trying to create something that doesn't exist, that I don't think we were ever painted the picture of as kids, but I think it's hopefully going to hold a lot more value than your traditional company, And I'm going to stop there because now I'm getting emotional. But that's basically
so cute. I love it. I
story.
was about to get emotional too. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so inspiring. And
so much comes up when you share that, but a couple of things especially is like, you know, when things got good, like you cleared the tumors, right? Life threw another shitty situation, quote unquote, at you, which was getting fired,
100%.
right? Or laid off.
Yep.
And so in those moments, what it shows to me, it's like things can get good and then boom, something, you know, bad can happen again. But also that is another opportunity then for you to make a choice of either being the victim of that situation or seeing it as like a sign. And I think that if you think it is a sign from the universe, it is, because that was always in your awareness of like, I want to, you know, do wellness. And if you're sitting pretty at a job and you're making a lot of money and doing all these things that are making you feel like you can't leave, then maybe it is harder to start your own business then. But it's those times when you do have the opportunity because things got rocky and you used it as an opportunity to grow and actually follow your heart. So that's super inspiring, because that can be really hard. And I say that from my own personal experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I definitely agree with what you're saying. And I think that goes not only with my experience of being laid off and pushing it into a company, but also with my anxiety and my tumors. I think so many people would like allow anxiety to become their identity. And I definitely did that for a long time and had to learn how to separate that and stop saying, well, I have anxiety, because that doesn't have to be a characteristic that I have. It can be something that I have dealt with. But it also, with my tumors, somebody who's like, oh, I had cancer at 21. My whole life is going to be a disaster. Oh my God, I'm going to be sick all the time. And I have to deal with this my whole life. What am I going to do? I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to do this. I don't want to pass this on genetically to my kids. And it's like, I mean, besides the fact that that's a whole nother topic, that it's not even genetic, but we can get there another time. You know, it's really like your mindset determines your reality. And I guess something I really learned about myself, even like literally from you saying that and just realizing, is that my outlook is always what is the lesson. And when I hit all my goals of moving to San Diego, getting a dog, you know, not having tumors anymore. Of course, the world ripped everything away from me because I hit all my goals. And they were like, all right, bitch, time to level up again. We're taking everything that you just worked for, figure out who you are again, the hardest it's ever been. And you're going to have the most beautiful thing that comes out of it. So,
I'm so excited to see it grow and to have been a part of the event so far. So thank you so much for creating that. And I do have to say, with the whole, you know, like emotions being trapped and like all that anxiety, I don't know if that's what you were implying, but I definitely think that can be a huge part of disease. I mean, it does, like disease, of course, the word, it's dis-ease in the body, and emotions are energy in motion. So when energy is not in motion and it's trapped, it literally causes dis-ease. And that
literally
is
speaking my language.
Right?
This is what I need people to know.
Yeah, that's why I really want to say it, because sometimes in this space, you know, we hear it all the time, but then it's actually like not talked about enough. So the more we say it to the
too, if you haven't really been through it, if you aren't somebody like me who literally was like, you know, not to be dramatic, but facing death in a sense, and then cured myself. I was allergic to like 300 different foods, by the way. A food test came back. I was allergic to carrots, potatoes, peppers, red wine, this. I'm allergic to nothing now. Okay, nothing, because I've fixed my mental health. And I am not saying that anybody's disease is not real and that they created it. I am not putting the blame on any one person, but I'm taking accountability for myself. That it personally created the disease for me. My body is very sensitive to my emotions. I feel them very deeply on a physical level. So for me, maybe that disease manifested into a physical reality more quickly than it would for somebody else. But I genuinely believe that even if you have a disease, taking up these mental health practices is at least going to make getting through it a little bit easier, maybe bring you some new discoveries about yourself, things you can make peace with, let go of. And like, yeah, we have a lot of toxic shit trapped inside all of our bodies, and it might be from our ancestors for all we know. It might not be your life trauma to hold, but our bodies hold all of that.
Yeah, and it's been passed down. And also to inspire us to want to heal it, it's actually so good to think about how our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to live better lives because of the work we're doing. So it really is just super inspiring, and hearing it from this perspective that you're speaking is really good to hear, because I think, as you're saying, sometimes it's hard to like put blame on a patient who's struggling. But if you are someone who's been a patient, then it's actually beautiful to say your story, because then you're giving permission to those who are experiencing that disease now to actually feel like they can own it a bit better, because you're someone who's gone through it. It's not this like doctor saying like, oh, well, you created this for yourself. You know, you're just saying from your own perspective that you see the ways that you could have impacted your body to create this disease, right?
Yeah,
so,
and I think even like I love that you're talking about the proactive part of it. Like, okay, we can prevent this, but I think there's also that like after, like there is a solution, and it's not tied to money.
no.
You can literally go on YouTube and find free resources to do hypnosis, meditations, heart-mind coherence meditations. I fall asleep to them every single night, and it's totally free. And it literally is life-changing. And I have this whole thing with like, you know, politics aside, I can't reconcile why healthcare costs money, because like if you need healthcare, you shouldn't have to not go because you can't afford it. And, you know, I pay a fuck ton in health insurance, and just sometimes I see that $600 every month and I'm like, oh, I don't want to pay this. And so it's the little bit of relief that like your financial status doesn't have to determine your health. And there are solutions for absolutely everybody, because the answers are always within.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, how are we doing with time? Welcome back to Simply Being, guys. We appreciate you being here again. We're going to continue our convo now. We got to decide where we want to go with this.
Lots of different ways we can go.
100%. So with having this business and getting people together, I'm sure there's a lot you need to do backstage, not just for the business, but also for yourself to remain tapped into your body, so that when you are showing up, of course, you want to be grounded. And I know that could take a lot. So how do you do that? What are some daily things you like to do to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, so as you know, my biggest thing is daily cold plunges. So I cold plunge before my workouts. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, before your workouts?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that you should do it after your workouts, which isn't necessarily bad. But if you're trying to grow muscle, it's going to immediately contract your muscles and stop any growth hormone from forming. So if you're trying to lift weights and then you go in a cold plunge, it basically just stops all the inflammation, stops all the growth. So if you do it before, it gives you that natural boost of adrenaline. It's like a pre-workout. Also just makes you feel like a badass. That's the biggest thing for me, is like I literally stand there and every day I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then I literally get in, and 4 minutes and 44 seconds later, I'm on top of the world and nobody can fuck with me. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where it just shows you that you can do hard things. I know people say that we could do hard things all the time and it's cliche, but like really, I mean, nobody wants to sit in 32-degree water for 5 minutes every day. I definitely don't. But once I've done it and I've showed my body that in extreme points of stress, I can regulate and I can use my breath to breathe and get me back to a normal state, to where I don't even really think about the fact that I'm freezing cold, is like, okay, wait, if I can do that on purpose, if I have an accidental trigger, I can do it then too. And of course, when you're having anxiety that is a trigger from your environment, it's a lot more turbulent, but it still allows you to be like, oh, okay, remember, breathe. Because I swear 30 seconds into the cold plunge from breathing, I'm dropped in. It takes 30 seconds.
Yes,
breathe, dropped in, continue the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a big one. And then, like I said, I do that before my workout every day. So I am a weightlifting girl and I love to go lift weights and just be at the gym. Kind of gets my energy out, gets the dopamine flowing even more. And I work out at Ocean Pacific. So shout out Ocean Pacific for being right on the beach, because I literally look out there and I'm like, damn. living the life. You know, I do these things to like consciously remind myself of how fortunate I am, because it's so easy to get caught up in
100%.
this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough. So I'm really trying to like highlight the good things that I do. I would say maybe that's not a full daily practice yet, but it's something that in every moment I'm trying to do. So when I feel stressed about having to sell enough event tickets for that weekend, I remember that, you know, I've only been doing this for almost 2 years now, and I have at least 12 people at every single event. And like that is an accomplishment in itself. And then, you know, when I surpass those numbers, it's so much more exciting than like, oh, well, I still had 2 tickets that I didn't sell. Boo-hoo, poor me. It's like, no, but you sold 18.
Yeah.
So it's like focusing on those good things, I think, and breath work too. So I'm very fortunate. My best friend is the best breathwork facilitator of all time, Caitlin Robinson, if you guys need to do some breath work. But yeah, she changed my life. And it just is a release I've never felt before. Like the sensations that go through your body when you do breath work, you're like, my breath can do this. And that is another time where you show yourself that if you put yourself under stress, you can regulate. Because honestly, sometimes when you first get into breath work, it's really anxiety inducing. You feel these weird things in your body and you have to say, relax, relax, relax. You're doing it to yourself. It's okay. It's normal. You're going to survive. And then it literally like leaves your body and you're so relaxed that you could fall asleep.
Exactly.
And it's like, so it's kind of like, you know, expanding our capacity for stress all the time so that any stressful thing that happens isn't that stressful.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. That really amazing explanations of all that. And actually it was recently that I saw Gabby post about can I talk about your surgery?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So she had a surgery that she had to do, and she expressed that the cold plunges in her daily routine prepared her with the kind of stress that she had to endure in a day where there was a surgery and different things happened. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that the second I got hurt, my first thought was, well, I'm not going to stop cold plunging. I have to keep going, because if I let this make me fall off my routine, then I'm going to get down in the dumps, and then I'm going to throw a pity party, and then it's going to be so much harder to pull myself out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, the doctor says no heavy lifting for 6 to 8 weeks, and I will do my best to listen.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can go and use one hand and modify my workouts, but it's the act of getting up, getting in that cold plunge, and even if my workout isn't really all that great, it's still sticking to my routine and holding myself accountable, because if you want accountability from anyone else in your life, you have to be able to deliver that first, you know?
Well, that's why I think it's so powerful to have people that you are inspiring, because then it makes you be even better, you know? And of course, we're always inspiring people, but just having this program that you are offering and doing that, it holds you accountable, basically.
Totally, yeah. And I think, I mean, that's a big thing is like, I go in the mornings to cold plunge with Kate because we have so much more fun doing it together. And if our schedules don't line up, we both go and we do it separate, but it's more fun to know that I can talk to her through it, that we're going to get up early and go and do it and feel so great. And like having people who want to do the same things as you and the things that they want to do are healthy is so great, because you get to socialize and have that connection with other people, but you're also taking care of yourself. And like comparing that with partying and spending your time with your friends partying, and then you guys are so tired the next day you don't even want to like get out of bed, versus doing like a hike or something fun with your friends and then having all the energy in the world the next day to maybe even go do it again. It's just such a freeing experience. So.
Right. And I do want to say that if you are listening and you are wishing that there was more, you know, friends around you who wanted to intentionally hang out and not be so distracted, because I love going out once in a while, but recently it became something, of course, but it became something that was literally feeling like a chore for me. And that's when I was like, oh God, it's gotten too bad. Like, it's not even that I'm that popular. It's literally because I have people pleasing issues. And when my 3 different groups of friends want to do something, I say yes to all of them. And then I want to go and be there in every, you know, event or whatever. And even that can get really daunting. So, what I wanted to say with that is if you do feel like you're inviting that in, Grow Collective is an amazing thing to start and to look into, because that, is already being planned for you. And one of the events, which I couldn't make, was making pot stickers, correct?
Yeah, dumpling making
dumpling
night.
making.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Same thing. But also it's just like, when have you ever made dumplings? Even though you can look at YouTube and try to figure it out, it's just such a beautiful way to connect to other people, and you're doing something new. And that's just one example. But
Yeah.
so especially if you're in San Diego, but I'm sure there's so many cities out there and
We're
in
expanding
towns.
global, don't worry.
Yeah,
We already have plans. Hopefully we'll have Grow Chicago maybe January 2025.
And the
like
crazy
in
thing,
2
I'm from the
months.
suburbs of Chicago. Wait,
really?
where are you from? You're
I'm
Arizona.
not from Chicago.
You just
I just
wanna-
have a friend who wants to help me start
I
it out
love
there.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
A lot of people from Chicago will hopefully be watching this. So I love that you said
that's
that
awesome.
next.
So we're starting virtual to kind of branch out. So we have a virtual event on the 14th, so next Thursday. And then we're doing another virtual event on the 9th of December. And then I want to make that a consistent thing where there can be a digital only membership.
Oh my
Then
gosh.
I want people, like I was kind of telling you before, I think my long-term goal is for people in the community to be hosting these events and empowered to be doing these things themselves down the line. And so I think, like you said, with dumpling making night, I made a kit. So I have a grocery list. I have all the material list. I have all my templates, all my recipes, and people can go to my website, download all of that, and host it for their friends. So I want it to be this kind of like, I'm hosting all these events right now, and I'm always going to be to a degree. But every time I'm hosting one, I want to kind of document it and standardize that process so that other people can be doing it, and the community members, feel that ownership in the community themselves too. Because I think, there's so many event companies and membership places, and you can pay for a membership and you can show up, but a lot of people want to get out of their day job and like want to leave corporate. And like, I just did that. So if I can pave a path for other people to follow along and find their dreams, there's just so many different avenues that I can go down with this. I think the biggest thing for me is like remembering my mission of empowering people to realize they can do this themselves.
Oh my gosh,
it's
thank
fun
you for sharing
and that
that.
it's easy if you just have the tools, and I want to help provide all the tools.
Hell yeah. And dude, I actually didn't know about this part of Grow Collective until we hung out today. So
it's kind of a new little
really
secret.
beautiful. No, it's very beautiful that you're sharing it, because that is inspiring for anyone who is wanting to just leave that world of being on someone else's time clock. So that's cool. So
starting some masterminds about it and stuff.
So did you have that plan from the beginning of when you started it, or no? Well, you said it's a new secret.
Everything is evolving and unfolding as it should. I think it's one of those things where like I only had a certain capacity to be doing certain things, and then I outgrow that and I level up to this next stage and this next stage. And so, for a while I was doing events and I was doing meal prep and I was slaving away in the kitchen. And then I realized like that's eating up all my energy and I'm not helping enough people because I'm only one person. So let me build out something on my website to where people can have my recipes, have them delivered to their house, have it adjusted to their macros, and follow my recipe to do my meal prep themselves. Because half of what's hard about meal prep is knowing what to cook, knowing what to buy, portioning it out. If I already take care of that, I already have thousands of recipes written, it allows me to serve more people. Without me having to necessarily do the cooking. So I'm really trying to find ways, like if you join this community and you want to take on more, whether it's actually helping host events or expanding to your city and being the ambassador in that city, or it's actually helping your life or your family's life. If you're cooking for kids and you're like, oh my God, what do I feed them? And you can find my recipes and adjust it. Like there's so many different things that people can use Grow Collective for. I want it to be somewhere that people can come and renovate every angle of their life, which actually reminds me. So maybe it'll help kind of sum all of that up.
Uh-huh.
I always say that we're focused on the pillars of mental health, which are diet, exercise, self, and other.
Say that.
So all of our events roll into that. All of our online resources roll into that. All of the things that I'm trying to empower people to be roll up to those 4 components, because along my journey, those were the 4 areas of my life that I really felt make up mental health and a balanced life and human.
Yes. Dude, I love that you mentioned that. And I was about to say before you said this last part that just for anyone listening that like you might think you need to have it all figured out for a brand.
You don't.
Like I had
I
a
don't
way
even
different
know.
logo before. I had a different vibe. Yeah, just what it's turned into with my podcast. It's literally been 4 years and I don't have much to show for it except for my mindset, the way that I speak, the way that I'm able to connect to random people that I meet, the way that I'm able to like speak about my shadow and things that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't randomly like blurt out random things about myself that were super deep on my podcast. And I got to think like, shit, I have a vulnerability hangover, and kind of like seeing how I feel after that. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't know right away what it's going to turn into, but if you're constantly practicing in the field and in the thing that you want to create, it's only going to make it better. And that's why, these ideas are probably coming up for you because you're already in that wavelength of like attracting that because you're doing the thing. You are getting people together. You are working on your passions. And as you said, also working on yourself, on a deep level of,
totally. Like, I think people are like, oh my God, you have this vision, you have it all figured out. It's like, yeah, now that I've been doing this for 2 years, but it's literally evolving and changing every single day. So the only thing I can do within all of this chaos and overwhelm and like, what do I do next is chase my highest excitement. Keep going towards what lights me up, because if I'm lit up and sharing that energy, ideally that's what it brings back to me. And the more that I do that, the faster and faster all this stuff is happening of just like falling into place. And that's why now I'm like, okay, yeah, I have this foundation. I have my event. I have my long term of how I'm going to delegate it to grow globally without destroying myself along the way. And then I'm constantly trying to find ways to check myself and balance and like give myself credit where it's due. Like you just did, literally saying like, I have all these things to show for it that I wouldn't have shown if I just tried.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not always perfect, but next time will be better.
Right.
That's all
and
you can
it's
do.
like, yeah. And like, it's just amazing to see other people doing it. And I think that's what it is like when you feel like you're living through your heart and, with the present moment, you also are celebrating other people who are instead of having resentment. So I feel like that's
coming
why
from abundance and being able to lift each other up instead of being jealous because they're doing something similar.
Exactly. And that's what I want to also highlight right now with like what we're all doing here together is, we want to work together. And you even said something that you might not even remember at the last event that I was at. You said, the influencer wave is kind of like dying down and it's more about these real life experiences and the people that you respect and connect with authentically. And of course, we can use these platforms as a way to also expand that authentic vibration, but it's less about, showing off and more about how we can use our own experiences and our own embodiment of self to invite those that actually vibe with it. And who doesn't, then they're not meant to be in our space in that moment. So it's cool that we're able to connect through that.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, cool. Okay. Now I wanted to ask, since I mentioned the shadow and like, that's kind of what Simply Being podcast is not centered around, because it's not like just about the shadow. It's just about the interplay of the shadow that kind of comes through with all of our experiences. And one thing that I know we've kind of touched on before we started this recording, and it was about like some of the things that are the shadow part of having these kinds of businesses, which one of them, as we said, could be, the trickiness of having a business that is based around community and wellness and all these things, but because we're all so cool, of course, we all want to be friends. So how does that affect the whole thing for you? How has that been navigating?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I would say it's beautiful and amazing first off.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's one of my favorite things about Grow is being able to connect people, see them connect, meet new people. Like, I feel like I always get to meet new people, and that's great. It makes it really easy for me. But on the flip side, it's this weird thing where I've always loved hosting socially, and now I'm hosting for work. And so people will be sitting around the fire, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm the face of this company. I need to go socialize. I need to make these connections. I need to make sure everybody knows like who I am, and like I leave an impact. And it's like, but I also have to do the dishes, and like I'm renting somebody's house right now. So that actually takes priority, and having to step back and trust that I've done my part and that the energy flows through it, and that I don't always have to be right there, and that I have to make the mature choice. And then also that like I'm responsible for everybody. If something went wrong, I need to be ready, aware, and take action. So not only am I kind of in like networking mode, but I'm also trying to be like open and vulnerable and connecting. And so it's all of these different ends of the spectrum where I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily like even want to talk to anybody right now because I want to focus on hosting an amazing event. But then I'm like, oh, well, I want to go talk to everybody because that's the point of my events. And then it's like, I'm so tired from socializing. And when my friends want to do something, I'm like, oh, but I'm socialed out. And then it's like, if I have to plan it, I don't know if I have the capacity. And so it adds in this level of, I guess, learning to set the proper boundaries, but then in the moment realizing that like I don't know what those boundaries are. And so every event, every week, every situation, I have to take a moment and assess what that boundary is for me, and like try and maybe make it a little bit stricter up front, because I can always be more lenient in the long run. But I'm naturally somebody who's very lenient with my boundaries, and I just want to connect with everybody and share everything deep and cry together and love each other and all these things. And so it's like, okay, but I can't do that to every if I have 100 members, I can't play favorites. I can't give certain people my time because they've been a member longer. Every single 100 member needs the same attention and the same value and my time. So right now we're not at 100, so I can still balance it, but we're getting to the point where I'm like, this is a lot of people, and I'm responsible for their experience here, and I love that, and I'm happy to take on that responsibility. That's literally what I've like decided to build my business around. But does it make my social life easier? On one hand, yes. On one hand, no. You know?
But that's what's beautiful, and that's kind of what I wanted to display, kind of like just naturally I wanted to bring that up, was like, well, with everything there's like the light and the shadow, and even though with this you're expressing how incredibly grateful you are and how amazing this is for you, but just like anything, it also has this side to it that is not just fun and games, and you need to have those boundaries. But what also came up is, like you said, you have to, trust yourself in that moment that you're making the right boundaries. And the way that you trust yourself is you feel into your body and see how you feel. And I feel like, all the work that you've been doing and all the stuff with the breath work and that kind of thing of actually connecting to your body is what's allowing you to actually then build even on this level of your business with your boundaries. And that's kind of what I want to relate of like, your work you do on yourself is constantly being played out in all your life situations. So it's so cool that you get to do that all around with, yourself, and then also those around you.
Yeah. It's definitely nice to have everything in my life revolve around the health and wellness. But then the first thing for me to sacrifice is my own health and wellness. And then I have to remember, once I'm feeling run down and burnt out, hey, I can't be a good host or a good founder or a good anything to anyone in my life if I don't stop and take care of myself. So it's like that constant reminder of like, take care of yourself first. Put your oxygen mask on first. It's like, it's not selfish, because you can't be the best version of yourself for other people if you're not filling yourself first.
And then also with that is like, oh my gosh, actually, I just want to leave it at that. Thank you so much. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been a huge success for me. I am so excited to, have you as a friend too, and connect deeper. So.
Yeah, me too.
Actually,
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been amazing.
Of course. Thanks for getting vulnerable and for being super down. And yeah, another shout out to Nick for recording and for making this possible with the studio. So
yeah. You do like, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'll be like, find me on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Collectiv.com.
Yeah. So where can these listeners and viewers find you, Gabby?
You can find us on Instagram at grow_collectiv. So GRO_collectiv with no E at the end. It's a little disco ball logo. And you can also find us at growcollectiv.com.
Amazing. Any new events coming up soon?
Yes. So this Sunday, we have a cosmic activation through psychedelic breath. So we're going to do an hour of breath work, an hour of sound healing. Everybody's going to get a journal and pens and some microdoses of mushrooms. So we're going to have an awesome company called Space Bears there. They do little gummy bear microdoses. So everybody's going to get to try those if they want to drop deeper into their, self-exploration. Yeah. The following week, we have Music Movement. So that's actually the event that you came to that I met you at. We're going to run it back, do a second one. Going to do a little biohacking theme this time. Cool. So no ice plunges, but we're going to do massages, cupping, acupuncture, a water ceremony, actually, which will be really cool. It's like a vibrational water to collectively raise our vibrations. Nice. So we'll start out with that and the acupuncture, go into the breath work, then the yoga, and then a whole afternoon with the live DJ. Amazing. And then we're doing a 1-day retreat in December. So that'll be really cool. It's just a 1 day on a Sunday, movement, breath work, make our own lunches, and then succulent garden making, mug decorating, and cookie decorating for the holidays. So you'll get a little gift to take home. There will be some vendors to shop for some holiday gift stuff. We have a bunch more coming up, but those are the big ones. And then, if you're not in San Diego, we'll have the virtual events. So we have Breathwork on November 14th. We will have a December decompression where I'm writing a whole workbook with interactive worksheets, and we'll go through it and learn how to decompress over the holidays. If your family stresses you out or you don't have family to spend it with or whatever you need to decompress from. I know the holidays are hard. So 100%. Trying to provide people, again, the tools that they need to have a decompression plan. And then we'll be doing a lot more virtual and retreats all around the country next year too. So we got a lot coming up.
Hell yeah. I love that so much. I'm so excited. And I do think it's really powerful to do it during the holidays. They say, you think you're awake and go spend a week with your family. So, I love my family so much, but I definitely think that, it's even extra important to make sure that you're grounded when you're, around people who you maybe don't agree with on everything. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. What else would I say? Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.